Hello and welcome to Pitchside Live ahead of Manchester City's final pre-season game of the summer. The Blues are still in South Korea, still in the capital, Seoul, as they prepare to take on Atletico Madrid tomorrow. Just 2 days since they played the Korean All-Stars and won that game by 3-1. We are going to go Pitchside Live very shortly. FG, Scott Carson and SWP, Shaun, Wright-Phillips are there. That's the Atletico Madrid team going in there. Training session to the fans and see maybe a little insight into what they're planning for tomorrow. Great history between City and Atletico Madrid in recent years as well. We will hear from Rico Lewis, the Manchester City defender, shortly, as well as the boss, Enzo Maresca. But before we do that, let's look back at the last two games that we've seen. The draw with Inter Milan, then the defeat on penalties in that game, and also the win over the Korean All-Stars to do so. Stephen McInerney is back with me once again. Stephen, those two games so far, what are your overarching thoughts of what you've seen?
They've been fun, mate. They've been fun. A really nice, gentle introduction to the Enzo Maresca era. I'm still reading from Pep Guardiola, of course, hanging up his, not boots, I guess, training pitch boots, his notepad. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Of course, it is just pre-season, so there aren't too many firm lessons we can learn, but we get a chance to see some new ideas, see some returning players, see some of the younger players. And so far, I think it's been a really entertaining start to pre-season.
Yeah, excitement, I think. And let's start with the Inter draw. The first one where players are perhaps shaking off a little bit of rust and getting back to fitness, and it is started the fitness progress. This is the Divine Mubama goal that City scored from. Penalties weren't great. We'll scoot over that quickly. But in terms of what you've seen in that draw, what did you take away?
Very Man City penalties. I'm proud of the boys. And to be honest, what we learned from this, this is what I took from it personally, and the players have said similar after the game, is the intense focus on wide play. Look, Guardiola, of course, always doubled down on his wingers to dribble, but Semenyo and McInerney, in particular in this game, they both were the example of what Maresca wants his wide players to do. Just be so aggressive, just attack the byline and get the crosses in. And it's something we've seen an awful lot so far in pre-season. And this young fella, Mubama, that guy knows where to be to put the ball in the back of the net. And Semenyo, he showed what he went on to show in the second game as well, this real determination to make an impact early on. It's what you want to see as well from the senior players who are, I guess, setting the example for the younger players too. This is the application I'll give, even if it's just a pre-season game.
Divine Mubama is actually a really interesting talking point because obviously big shoes to fill in the position he's taking with Erling Haaland not being on this pre-season tour due to how well Norway did at the World Cup. But how good he had his injury last season towards the end of it, so he's coming back from that. But how good has he been in terms of finding the back of the net in both these pre-season games?
Yeah, I mean, 2 goals so far. I don't think he'll sit here and pretend they're the hardest goals he's ever scored, but we've seen so many players who don't score those goals because they're not in the right position. And this one in particular is better than the first one because he reads the shot, he follows in from Semenyo's shot, and he keeps himself on side as well, which is such an underrated trait of forwards. And look, he's only a young lad still. I think he scored 5 goals last season for Stoke out on loan. He did get a leg break, which is a hell of an injury to recover from a young lad. And you can see already, though, that this guy has an ability to score goals, and he will score. I'm not sure if he'll stay around at Manchester City. He'll probably get a loan to further his development, but he's got a natural instinct in front of goal that will assure he keeps getting those tap-ins, and he can score better goals than that. I know he can. I've seen him do it. But yeah, he's a really promising player who's putting himself in front of the world, to show how good he is.
And this is the point. This is what pre-season with a new manager can be. It's a reset for every player. Those we know with existing qualities, but also those that maybe want to now start and force their plans in Enzo Maresca's team for next season. I know you talked about him going out on loan, but he's doing no harm in saying, well, I could even, possibly be on the bench in regular first-team matches next
There's
season.
Absolutely no doubt that he's got a chance. I was talking to one of the press back out there, Simon Bukowski from the Manchester Evening News, and the thing that he took from the pre-season is that all these players are jostling to make an impact under Maresca. We talk about, it being sad that the Guardiola reign has ended, but this is a chance for new beginnings and new opportunities. There's no guarantee that Mubama, if you say, won't be called on at some point. You always need a goal scorer. It's the currency of football goals, and Mubama is very good at doing that. So he'll be thinking, well, I'm not Haaland, because who is, but I'm also a big striker who knows how to score and put the ball in the back of the net. And if you've got this increased focus on wing play, and you already know how City play, and you've proven you can handle it at a senior level, which he has in the Championship, stranger things have happened. He's got a chance, and all you've got to do is just score goals, and he's pretty good at that.
You can see in the box there, that is the Atletico Madrid training session. We'll keep showing you the press conference room as well, where Manchester City are waiting, or we are waiting for Rico Lewis to come out and speak to the media. We'll bring you that live. We'll also bring you Enzo Maresca's press conference just after that as well. You talk about the wide play and how City have developed, or seemingly developed, from what we've seen in pre-season so far, Stephen.
Yeah.
One of those wide players on the left-hand side, Ray Aït-Nouri, got his goal against the Korean All-Stars, and has said it in his post-match interview that he wants to contribute to more Manchester City goals this season.
Absolutely, and he has the ability to do that. He's such a typical Man City player where if you put him through the middle, you put him out wide, you put him anywhere, he has the technical ability, the intelligence and the experience to do it. And he'll, obviously, this goal here, I never expect him to score a goal on his right foot, playing left wing for Man City, but he's shown he's capable of it, and Aït-Nouri it's a big season for him. You know, last season, he had a sort of stop-start start of the season with injuries and, of course, AFCON as well. But Aït-Nouri is an incredibly talented fullback, and he's got so much ability. And we talk about new opportunities and new chances to impress under a new manager, and he's a great example of that. And so far, he's taken his chance in pre-season.
The left side of Manchester City is really interesting, I think, in this pre-season discussion. But as we head towards the first game of the season, the reason being Ray Aït-Nouri's played the left-back role, but Nico O'Reilly's got to come back from England duty. So does Aït-Nouri further advance? The question is, if he does further advance and play more of a winger role, you've got Doku and Semenyo to compete with.
It's pretty good.
It's not a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, it's good. It's all good. I mean, as a City fan today, I'm like, bring it on. Absolutely. It's tough for all of them individually, but you know, it's a challenge that I'm sure they revel as elite footballers. You don't join Manchester City and expect an easy ride into the team. And look, ultimately, Aït-Nouri's take on the left wing will be different to Semenyo's, will be different to Doku. And you need that variety of players, that variety of styles to get at people over a very long season. And Aït-Nouri will absolutely contribute at some point.
Let's talk about that wide play. We've touched on it a little bit. Does this seem something more that we will see in a Maresca team? All 4 goals so far. Reinder's also on that score sheet list that we haven't touched on yet for Manchester City, but all 4 goals have come from wide positions.
Absolutely, and to be honest, it's even more intense than I expected it to be. I did a little bit of research for my own sort of YouTube channel, and I've been amazed how direct this team has been, actually. Everything suggested that they'd be a little bit more conservative with the build-up, but you see the classic Manchester City tropes of keeping the ball, making the team work. But the wingers are so aggressive and so in your face, and there's a certain 6'5" centre forward who will absolutely revel in that. Like, the more cutbacks, the better, because there's no one better in world football than Erling Haaland at taking that opportunity. And Semenyo has shown so far, McAdoo's shown so far, Savinho, Aït-Nouri, this willingness to get to the byline, attack the fullback. And it's paying dividends. It is just pre-season, but look at how aggressive they're being. Look at young McAdoo there. And what a player, by the way. I mean, he's ridiculous. And that's like Messi, that classic goal against Eibar. So close to scoring a goal that he'd remember forever. And he's a great example of someone that's worked close to the first team already, that has that intelligent, direct, aggressive game, who plays like he knows who he is. I love it when you see a young player who already has their own recognisable silhouette. You know exactly who they are. So a lot of young players, you look at them and you go, they need to learn this and that. The only thing McAdoo lacks is experience, because he knows how to make the right decisions. He has such a confidence in his game, and that to me is a Maresca winger. And Semenyo's showing the same on the other side. Savinho's shown when he's on the pitch too. And look, as a football fan, you want to see wingers take people on. You want to see goals, and you want to see dribbling. And I think we could be in for a treat this season.
And with McAdoo, that with all respect to the Korean All-Stars, the Inter game would have been the tougher of the two.
Absolutely.
And his impression on the right-hand side, I know he didn't play against the Korean All-Stars, but his impression on the right-hand side, as we saw from that compilation there, is backing up your hot take of this could be the one to watch this season.
I know a thing or two about football. Sometimes I've had worse, but the ones worse than that do a lot better than that as well, and vice versa. Yeah, McAdoo is ultimately, he's seen as one of the most talented players at Manchester City's academy, and Manchester City's academy is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the league. So when you're that good, And in an academy that good, you have to have real talent. He's going to make it as a professional footballer at a very high level. And I feel it's going to be with Manchester City because the work rate's there. Look, he's 18 years old, and the composure he plays with, the technical ability he's got already. He's got that sort of deceptive strength as well for a small guy. He's darty, he's quick, he can go either way. He's that kind of guy where you expect him to go to the left and he'll go to the right. And then when you think he's going down the right, he'll go on the left. And as you can see, he's so aggressive with his shot. I want my wide players, if I was Maresca, I'd want them to run at people and shoot. Like you see the Obama tap-in, that came from Semenyo cutting in and taking a shot. Like, it's such a cliche, but genuinely, you don't score goals unless you take a shot. And when you've got McInerney, you've got Semenyo, and Doku towards the end of last season as well, so self-assured in front of goal, so willing to take a chance, it just creates havoc. And McInerney, I think right now, there couldn't be a perfect time for him to break through. And usually in an era of great change, there's always a name that makes a surprise, and breaks through the noise and makes a name for himself. And I think McInerney could be that guy.
So that was Stephen's hot take from last week that's been backed up. Amos Murphy, who was with us last week as well, City podcaster from the City Ramble, said that his hot take would be that Joško Vardiol's contract deal would be the best bit of business this summer from any Premier League team. We're going to continue the hot take theme because FG over in Hong Kong earlier this week sat down with a group of journalists to get their hot takes on Manchester City's upcoming season.
Hi guys, FG here, and I am with some journalists, Simon from the MEN, Shaun from BBC and Sam Lee from The Athletic. Today is Hot Takes. Start with you then, shall we, Shaun? Semenyo will be Player of the Year. Ooh.
Yeah, I think hit the ground running at City last season. The way he performed for 45 minutes in that first friendly against Inter Milan, I mean, he was electric. Everyone was off their seats, and he scored 21 goals for club and country last season. I think he'll get more than that, and he's going to set the Premier League alight next season.
I was in the taxi last night, and I was like, oh, I'm going to pick like a FPL team, and I put him in it first. That's why. So I've got the same bug. Now I'm just thinking, this guy, he already scored loads of goals anyway, and now if he's at full flight, he's going to get the goals. But then if we're talking about Player of the Year, you need that kind of X factor, don't you? And if it's like, if one of the sides of the season is him just like tearing at fullbacks like he did against Inter, that's going to get a lot of people like moved. Do you know what I mean? And then if you've got the goals as well, I can see it.
What's his best side to play on, the left or the right? Because he looks pretty electric on the left-hand side.
I think either side, if Doku's not playing, he can fit in there, but easily slotting him out right or through the middle as well. So very adaptable, and I think that's why Pep brought him in.
Left back is Guardiola's best position. Everyone loves him centre back. Everyone's like, oh, don't play him at left back. He's a centre back playing at left back. Where else do you get the full array of his talent?
Sorry, you've got to disagree with you, Sam.
Yeah.
Simon's got the casting
It's kind
vote.
of like Laporte, really. Reminds me of Laporte, just like dinking those balls over the top.
To be fair, I think he agrees with you lot.
I mean,
I like him as a left back.
That's a credit to him though, right? Because he can pretty much do everything that a so-called centre-half shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
Right, so let's talk about centre-back pairings then. What's your best centre-back pairing?
I do want Guardiola in it because most likely he's going to play there. Yeah, well, he's probably not going to play left back, is he?
No, hang on a minute, Sam. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
You're the manager of this team now,
Yeah,
and
okay.
left back is Vardiol's best position, where you just said you want him a centre back.
Yeah, he's fine at centre back. but there's no point in dropping Nico because I think Nico is very perfectly suited to
I
that
agree.
as well.
Yeah, we are blessed now, which is an interesting position to
With
be
left
in.
back, yeah.
Probably Guardiola and Diaz, but that's boring, isn't it? Like, you want Kusanov him because it's Kusanov.
Enzo Maresca is the perfect Pep replacement. For me, it just makes sense. He was part of the team when we won the treble. You can see how much he means to the players that he's previously worked with.
Have you been reading the BBC Sport website?
I haven't, no, mate.
Joško Guardiola said exactly the same, that he's the perfect.
Was that an article written by yourself?
Of course it was. He said he was a perfect replacement for Pep, and the players sort of taken to him quite quickly.
When you speak to the players who've worked with him, they all love him. And we saw İlkay Gundogan the other week, and he could not wait to tell us how much he loves Enzo Maresca, how great a coach Enzo Maresca is. And the mood this week has been like absolutely brilliant. All the players are just enjoying working with him and think he's really good. And from a sort of just observing him and speaking to him a bit, I quite like that he is standing on his own 2 feet, and he's like, I did this at Leicester and I was really successful. I did this at Chelsea and I was really successful. I'm just going to do it again. You have to want to take over from Pep. And like, it's quite a big thing to say, I'm going to be the guy that takes over from the most successful guy ever. So it says a lot about Enzo that he does.
Right, last thing before we end. On Manchester City, what are they going to win next season? What's your predictions?
I genuinely don't see why they can't win the Premier League. Weren't miles off it last season by any means.
It depends which way those tight games are going. Last season, a lot of draws ultimately cost them in the end. If they can just convert those to wins, I think they should be thereabouts once again in the Premier League. Champions League, you probably have to beat Real Madrid or avoid them to get far in the competition, see how that one goes. I think they'll probably pick up another cup again.
Yeah, I think they'll pick up a cup. I think I'm looking forward to watching them. I think it'll be exciting. I'm not sure they will have the consistency to win the league, but I don't know they'll win the Champions League, but I can see them going very far this year.
So it's been a very hot summer so far and plenty of hot takes to go with that as well. Thank you to those 3 journalists for joining FG a little earlier this week. Shaun of BBC Sports saying Semenyo will be player of the season. Sam Lees was Vardiol. His best position is left back, and we've just discussed whether Aït-Nouri O'Reilly and how the left side of City works. So we'll throw Vardiol into that mix maybe. And FG's was Enzo is the perfect replacement for Pep Guardiola. Listening to those hot takes, Stephen McInerney is still with us on Pitchside Live. We will be in Seoul shortly for the press conferences. What did you make of those hot takes?
I think the Semenyo one's interesting. I think if he'd scored the amount of goals he did last season, but they were all Man City shirt as opposed to Bournemouth, you'd absolutely would have been there, given the fact that, you know, his contributions to the cup finals are absolutely immense. And yeah, if there's that intense focus on the wingers under Maresca, as we've already seen so far in pre-season, Semenyo's got every chance. The guy scores very good goals as well as important goals, which is, once again, it's the most important thing in football. And I think what I love about Semenyo is you don't get as far as he's done in football as you raise through the pyramid without having this incredible ability to learn. He arrives at a level, he soaks it all and takes it, then he improves and goes beyond it. I don't see why he won't do it again at City. He's a very efficient player, and I think you can imagine him. He's the kind of guy I can imagine if we win the league this season, he's probably scored the winning goal because he has that sort of clutch feel to him. So, absolutely, I can imagine that. Vardy at left back, Sam, I really don't care as long as he's on the pitch. He's that good. For what it's worth, I think Maresca's going to play him at left centre back. I think City are at the most comfortable, when they have a left-footed left centre back. I just think that's where he wants to play. I'm absolutely comfortable with him doing that sort of left-back, quasi-striker role. But we have Nico O'Reilly can do it now. Previously we didn't. And Nico's just as good at that as Josko. So I don't think the urge for him to do that will be there. And Maresca being the perfect choice, absolutely. I had my moments, as any City fan does, when you ponder what life would be like after Guardiola. But they've landed on a very sensible, safe, but also logical decision with Maresca. I think the familiarity he's got, as we were talking about last week, with this place, he literally knows this studio exists, for example, before you even joined. I think that really does help. And I think when you've had such an incredible area of 10 years of success, you do need a safe pair of hands, because everyone is nervous about what life's going to look like after Guardiola. Healthy excitement and nerves, of course, but it's still nerves nonetheless. And if it's a steady hand with experience and also hunger to steady that ship and push it, keep it moving forward, then it makes it a lot easier.
Press conference coming up very shortly, expecting Rico Lewis any minute now, but we will go there live as soon as we can. I enjoyed Simon Bajkowski picking the boring option of Manchester City's centre-backs. When talking with Sam Lee about the Vardiol hot take of his best position being left-back, Bajkowski said that it's Diaz and Vardiol for him as the centre-back partnership, but then that leaves Kusanov out. Again, we talk about the wealth on the left-hand side.
He could be playing right-back this season. Currently there's as recognised right-backs. Even if he is a recognised right-back, it's Matheus Nunes. There's Rico there, of course. But after that, it could be Kusanov. We've seen him there before, for Guardiola. We've seen him in pre-season there already. And we do know that Maresca sides like to they like to have a full-back inverted, and it could easily be Nico Riley doing that. It could easily be Oscar Vardiol doing that. And that means you need 3 centre-backs, essentially. So it could be Coutinho playing there. Ultimately, I think Manchester City have the best collection of centre-backs in the Premier League. I know Arsenal were so good last year defensively, but I don't think you can get better than Coutinho, Gueye, Diaz, Vardiol. It's so balanced, and even then Vitor Hayes as well. What a young talent! Yeah. So I'm so excited to see what he comes up with that. But I don't think you can really get it wrong.
I enjoyed. There was an interview with Matheus Nunes earlier this week in the media talking about that shift to right back. And apparently for so long he was like, no, I'm not a right back. I'm not a right back. I'm not a right back. And now he's gone, actually, yeah.
Well, he had a good game in the Club World Cup. He was like, I'm actually quite good at this. Yeah.
So what does Maresca do with him? Could that be a floating role for him this season, advancing up the right a little bit
for
more?
Him now, I reckon. Like, you're a goalkeeper now, mate. I don't know. And who knows with Nunes? I think he's going to love this season, Matheus Nunes. I don't think it's a stretch to say, and it's been documented by Guardiola himself and everyone, that maybe he didn't quite adapt to life at Manchester City as a midfielder. It led to him playing right back. But what I love about Matheus Nunes' journey is that he's fought for his position in that team. He absolutely has. Many players could have, moved on after a year or two of not playing much football, rightfully so. But he clearly has the desire to be here, to be at one of the biggest clubs in the world, and wants to make it work. And it's one of my favourite stories in football when a player, when they've got all the odds stacked against them, they've been told almost publicly that maybe Guardiola famously said he's not, quite got the attributes to play in midfield that he wants in terms of the small spaces and all that kind of stuff. But he's hung around anyway, and he's made a role for himself in the team that is uniquely Matheus Nunes. You saw him drifting more central last season, so he does the midfield stuff still. I think he's going to revel in his opportunity this season. He's going into it as a starter for the first time in his City career. He's absolutely Man City starter. And all reports suggest in the interviews coming out of the press pack, he's a really likeable guy. And given that we've lost John Stones, Bernardo Silva, 2 very funny, likeable people from the dressing room, this is Nunes' chance to step up. Like, he is a senior player now. He's been here for many years. And he's one of the starting 11. So I really, truly can't wait to see how he shines this season.
Matheus Nunes at the end of that K All-Stars, Korean All-Stars game, took the armband. We're going to discuss that a little bit later as to perhaps who the leadership group might be with Manchester City. I'm conscious the press conference is coming up, so I don't want to spend too much time on that case. We don't get to really discuss it in detail. But you talked about Nunes going into the midfield, and that has been an interesting point with obviously some of the stars still away after the World Cup duty, Rodri in particular. That's given the opportunity to the likes of Tijani Reinders to show what he's about. Nico Gonzalez, we can see your comments on YouTube. One fan's already suggested that Nico Gonzalez could be the player of the season. Now, that is a hot take that will carry on through the season as well. But in terms of that midfield, Gonzalez, Reinders, what you've seen so far?
Really good. Nico Gonzalez, he's been here for a year and a half now. A lot of discussion always around him, but he's played about 60 games in that period of time. In a time of so much upheaval at Man City with so many players leaving, and I think he's done a really good job when asked, and he's still learning, he's still young, and he's learned from Rodri and Bernardo Silva, some of the greatest to ever do it. Of course, he was here when more legends were around too, and Gundogan and so on. So I think this is a big season for him. He said that he expects to stay as well, and he will do, he'll be involved. And there's so much ability there. He just suits the modern take on the Premier League midfielder, where it is a little bit more aggressive. There's a lot more running to be done. I can't imagine how he'll learn alongside. I can't imagine how he won't learn alongside the quality of plays that he's got, especially playing alongside someone like Elliot Anderson as well, who's obviously such an exciting talent. And Reinders is just such a incredibly gifted footballer. His technical ability is of the highest standard. I think we're going to see his goal right now. That was obviously meant for Rico, but Semenyo will claim it's for Tijani. But that finish is absolutely brilliant. That's the striker's finish. So instinctive. And look, it's a cliche, but for years we always talked about giving midfielders the second season under Guardiola. I think maybe in our impatience as fans, sometimes we forget that mantra exists for a reason. And this is Reinders' second season now. He has all the ability. He absolutely does. I don't think he would have been fully happy with his first season because maybe he didn't play every game as much as he wanted to. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time to step back, analyse your own game, learn what worked and what didn't. And then with a new manager, new ideas, just push on from there. And so far in pre-season, he's taken his chance.
Again, it goes back to that point, doesn't it? If it's a fresh start for everybody under...
It's exciting.
Under Enzo Maresca, certainly is. And Tijani Reinders, again, with that whole second season factor that you sometimes filter through with Manchester City, that there could be a combination there that he might also be another hot take for the brand. Basically, name a player, they're a hot take this
player of the season, there you
go. When we talk about the midfield, we looked at Matheus Nunes coming in from the right-hand side, maybe. And then we've got that Nico O'Reilly factor, again, away after England duty and going to the semi-finals of the World Cup. But when he comes back in, is he left back, or if that goes to Vardiol, does he go in midfield? How does this how does Enzo Maresca manage all
How
this?
do you know with Nico O'Reilly? So I first saw Nico O'Reilly when he was like 16 years old, playing for the academy sides, scoring like a scorpion bicycle kick from like as a false nine, and then suddenly he rocks up as a defensive midfielder. Then he's suddenly a left back. I don't even think he even called him a left back last season. He's like, do you remember years ago he'd have like centre back stroke striker? It was an old Football Manager thing. Like that is sort of like what he does. It's ridiculous. He starts at left back, then he's alongside Erling Haaland scoring goals, but then he's also tracking back, marking Salah out of the game. It's ridiculous. He's such an absurdly talented footballer, blessed with a physique that people dream of. 6'5", lightning quick, strong, the best football education in the league at Manchester City. He's been there forever. He's one of us, the Blue. Nico O'Reilly can be absolutely anything he wants in football. If he decides he wants to be a 30-goal season striker, he could do. I really rate him that highly as he's finishing. If he wants to be a swashbuckling midfielder in the role of Patrick Vieira or something like that, he could be. He could probably play centre-back. He probably could play right-back. I suspect he'll probably carry on playing left-back because he isn't really a left-back. He's going to get forward and support that inside channel alongside Doku. But
Could Maresca play him further forward, but then when he's on England duty, Thomas Tuchel seems to quite like him in the left-back position?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Nico doesn't care. He's like, well, whatever, mate, football's easy for me. And I sort of envy. He's one of those guys where anything he does in life, he'll be really good at. You can tell he's just naturally gifted. And once again, this is his. I think this will. He didn't go into last season as a guaranteed starter. He is now. Like Nunes, they were both new to their roles last season, and they came on at such a ridiculous level and improved so quickly that now they're going to go into this season experience. It's crazy to say that Nico O'Reilly's experienced given how young he is, but he's just been to a World Cup with England, played regularly. He's won 2 trophies as a starter for Manchester City already at Wembley. He scored a goal and got man of the match at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid. He has a remarkable CV already. Like, this season for him, look, we'll be stood here in 2 years talking about him as one of the captains. I'm almost certain there's a hot take for 2 years from now.
We're already planning ahead for next pre-season, so we'll document this chat and put it forward for that. I'll tell you what, you said Nico O'Reilly's a guaranteed starter. I'm really curious. Maybe whilst these press conferences are on, yeah, I'm going to get you maybe to do your City starting 11 for the opening game of the season, because I'm interested to see who you've left out, really, to be honest, because if O'Reilly starts, where do you put him? If he's left back, then does that mean Aït-Nouri or Gvardiol misses out? If you put him in midfield, which of the starting midfielders from the summer have missed out in the likes of Reinders and Gonzalez, Rodri,
see why the pace of our managers now.
Elliot Anderson's got to come in. Where are you putting Elliot Anderson?
He's probably a right back now, isn't he? Who knows with City these days? I mean, he's obviously starting in midfield and he's going to be spectacular. I feel it. He is. I can just feel it.
Foden? Semenyo? Doku? Haaland? Are you dropping Haaland?
You sure he's just 11 on the pitch? Can we squeeze him in somehow? I think Foden is actually going to probably start the season. I think he will start the season as the number 10. Not that Shirky won't deserve to play. I think it's just obviously Foden a little bit more rested. Shirky will need a bit of time to get going. And I think we're all aware of Phil's probably need to feed his way into the season this year.
What did you make, particularly the Inter Milan game and the K-League All-Stars? He's had a few chances. He's not found the back of the net yet, Phil. That might come tomorrow against Atletico Madrid, of course. But as you say, in terms of being involved and being in front of the action in that final third, he has been there in the last couple of games.
Yeah, he has. I think his performance has been getting better by the minute. Very lively. As lively as you can be. I was chatting to Simon, who was on the show before with the journalist, and he said it feels like 45 degrees there. He said that the fans didn't want to even sit in the seats, never mind players playing on the pitch because it was so hot. So it's been hard to judge in terms of energy levels because everyone's taking it a little bit easy. But his overall contribution, there's been classic Phil Foden moments. A couple of crosses were absolutely wicked, with so much pace. And there's one darting little run where he did blaze it over, but it was a very classic Phil Foden run where he sort of jinked past a couple of players towards the goal. He's looked like he is excited to be back playing football again because obviously he's had the summer off. Not that as he planned, of course. He wanted to be at the World Cup. But sometimes you need a little bit of time to think. And Phil is a remarkably gifted young man. And I expect now he understands his role in this Manchester City side. Not that he didn't, but he knows that he is going to be lent on as one of the more senior players. He knows that Guardiola's gone. He's the manager who gave him his debut, which is a wild thing to say. He's only ever known Guardiola as his manager. And now he's got a manager that who will lean on him. They have to. Phil Foden is going to be pivotal to our success this season. So I think he's ready for it, and I think the performances so far in pre-season have shown that.
And again, to reference Simon Bajkowski, who's getting a lot of shout-outs on this Pitchside Live programme. He was talking about how the players are excited to work under Maresca. They can't wait. Ilkay Gundogan was telling him that, and Phil Foden knows Maresca pretty well.
Yeah, and I've chatted to people in football. I've heard the same, that Maresca is an incredibly smart man. He worked under Pellegrini, and a lot of people love Pellegrini for his people skills, and Maresca sort of cited that himself. That's one thing he took from Pellegrini. I think people presume he's a Guardiola student. Pellegrini is his biggest inspiration, of course. He's learned a lot from Guardiola. We all do, just watching his teams play. But Maresca is most importantly, and I think this is important for where City are now, a remarkably nice man and a very smart man. It struck me watching his press conference last week, and we're sure we'll see the same today. There's a lot behind those eyes. He's a clearly charismatic and highly intelligent man who thinks about everything he does. And I think that right now, given where City are after 10 years of glorious success, it's a bold new era. You need someone who has that composure and that calm, and Maresca is such a wonderful man. He's such a nice guy that I think the players will feel reassured by his presence.
You can see there in the bottom corner of your screen, that is the live view of the press conference room at the McDonald's Stadium, where Manchester City and Atletico Madrid have been doing their open training session whilst we've been talking. After the press conferences, Manchester City players will go outside and will join FG, Scott Carson and Shaun Wright-Phillips pitchside, as well as they get to analyse what they've seen so far in the opening 2 games, and also have a look and insight into the pre-season training. We are awaiting Rico Lewis at any moment now. We can still see your YouTube comments as well. Keep them coming in. They're great fun to read. When we talk about players and who's starting, we've missed out Ryan Shirky. We've not spoken about him yet. Obviously, he's been away at the World Cup as well. So does he get a start in your team, or who are you moving at? These are great questions. This is almost the embarrassment of riches that Manchester City have.
He definitely plays football at some point. He's very talented, isn't he? I don't even know, mate. He's so hard. It's you quickly realise, though, when you're saying all this, I mean, trying to fit him on the pitch is hard. But the point is they're in the squad, and that's really exciting, because a lot of these players were good last season. I don't see any reason why they won't be better again for that collective experience, for what they learned last season. I don't think we started the season perfectly, and there was dips in the middle, but we got better towards the end, and it was the best version of this new side as we went on to win 2 domestic trophies, as we were so close to a treble in the end. And people like Shirky, pivotal, Nunes, Doku, Nico Riley, absolutely wonderful players, and we don't achieve what we did last season without them. And Shirky, well, I think he'll look to take last season's lessons, and I think he'll kick on. I would not be surprised if this guy is pushing 15, 20 assists in all competitions. He wasn't far off last season. He played barely any minutes compared to the league's highest assisters. So I reckon Shirky... the league won't take him by surprise. It never did, because he was so good anyway. But it's going to be a big season wherever he gets on the pitch.
I know he came really into life in the second half of the season. I know he signed last summer, Ryan Shirky, but what's actually been really good this time around, this pre-season, when you've got Shirky who ended the season so well and heads into the summer in a positive light, of course, with France at the World Cup and was impressive there. You've got Semenyo and Gay, who came in January. And now you've got a pre-season where they're getting a full summer with the squad, with their teammates, because there wasn't a lot of training time in the second half of last season. With the number of competitions Manchester City were in, there wasn't a lot of time for them to get that time on the pitch. Now they've had a whole summer, yes, with a new manager, but a whole summer to get to know the manager, to get to know the players. It just embeds them a little bit more.
It's incredibly exciting. Correct me if I'm wrong, when Semenyo came in and scored a couple in the semi-final, didn't he, immediately? It was Newcastle, wasn't it? So if he's that good, that quickly, and that pivotal to City's success last season in 2 cup finals, without any ability to... I don't think he'd probably hadn't even moved into his house yet or whatever. He was just thrown on the pitch, and he was so impressive, and so was Mark Gay. They were absolutely crucial to City's success last season. And that, as you said, is joining in January without a chance to get to know everyone, without a chance to take it easy, learn the rhythms, learn what Guardiola wants. They've got a summer. And they've also got a challenge, which I think they obviously revel in. That's why they're at Manchester City. Semenyo, as we've seen so far in pre-season, aggressively assertive. He really wants to make an impact on this Manchester City side. And he knows, like Mark Gay knows, like the rest of the squad knows, nothing's for certain right now. And there's a beauty in that because it really is a meritocracy. And he's going to be desperate to get on the pitch because you've got so much quality. You've got Foden, Savinho, Doku, Makeda, who's making a name for himself. All these guys can play in his position. He wants to be the starter. And he's the kind of guy who's going to grab that shirt. Then Mark Gay, with all his quality and experience, so good at the World Cup, he's got to compete with Kusanov, Diaz, Vardiol and co. That is incredibly hard too. And I'm expecting both of these. They're clearly smart footballers. They're clearly dedicated to their craft. They clearly want to be at the highest level. And they want to win the Premier League. They want to win the Champions League, the Premier League. I don't see any reason why they won't improve on last season. And that, to me, is that's really exciting because they were that good without any chance to bet in. Imagine them now.
Exactly. Keeping our eye on that box in the bottom left corner of your screen as well, where the press conference, the journalists you can see just putting their microphones down, getting ready. Keep your comments coming in on YouTube as well. We can, of course, read them and see what you're saying and get the gist of what you're picking up as Manchester City head into their final pre-season game of the summer, having already drawn with Inter Milan over 90 minutes, having beat the Korean All-Stars team as well. A lot of love, Stephen, coming in for Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah. He's a handsome man. Maybe that's something to do with that. I think Nico, I think a lot of fans, and I'm obviously very tied into the City sort of fan space, given what I do for a living, talking to fans all the time. And I think he was really impressive in that early run of the season where we had Doku, Foden, Haaland, Shirky, just ahead of Nico and Bernardo and so on. And he was really impressive. And then, of course, Guardiola lent a little bit more on the experience of Rodri and Bernardo towards the end of the season, understandably. They were pushing towards a title and so on. But Nico is a guy that who could go on to be easily one of the best midfielders in world football, in my opinion, despite not being a starter for all the season. He was one of the best defensive midfielders in the league last season, and the stats do back that up. An incredibly smart player, and I think sometimes you feel as a fan, you get the sense that there's a sort of untapped potential in a player. I think Guardiola talked an awful lot last season about Nico Gonzalez being so willing to learn, and that to me it shows the signs of a student of the game. And look, you look at what Fernandinho was when Guardiola joined to what he became. He was 30 years old when Guardiola took over. Now, Nico Gonzalez is a lot younger than that, and he's already playing at a very high level. He was already a starter at the start of last season in a team competing for the league. Imagine how good he'd be in 2-3 years from now. There's such an urge these days for immediacy and the here and now that we forget players take a little bit of time to develop. We've seen so many players who went on to do brilliant things at City that weren't themselves in the first year or two because that's a natural progression of things. Nico Gonzalez is already playing at a very high level while not playing every single game. I think this is a great chance for him, as we talked about so extensively already, to make a name for himself under a new manager. And I expect he has the ability and the desire to take it.
Feels like a long time ago. It was Southampton, wasn't it? The great goal in the Cup semi-final.
Yeah,
Nico Gonzalez scored. He's already said he's felt a lot of love from the Manchester City fans, and if he's reading the comments as well, he'll see a little bit more over in Asia, the Far East, of course, where Manchester City are for their pre-season. He also said, despite obviously growing up in Spain, that the conditions they've had in the Far East so hot.
Yeah.
That
Did you see him
hottest he's ever had? Yeah.
I like he just steps out of a shower.
Well, that's exactly how he described it. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So Nico Gonzalez, said, I don't understand how the fans can support us so much here in another part of the world, but it's so nice to feel this connected to Asia and all the fans here. Obviously, the conditions are difficult, but if you were to go to Spain now, it's only going to be the same. It's really nice to feel this close to all the fans. And this is what pre-season's about. It's about taking Manchester City to other parts of the world that don't necessarily get to see them live every week, or certainly see them in person every week.
I was lucky enough to go to Seoul a few years ago with City, with one of the partners, and I went to the US and Germany, and I also went to Seoul, and I met the Seoul Supporters Club, and their intensity, their love of this club, it's ridiculous. Because, I think people presume because they're far away, they won't have the connection to the club in the way that maybe McInerney do, but that's absolutely not the case at all. They, if anything, they maybe overcompensate, and I love that because they have that distance. They give so much of their time and their sleep, to follow this team because it's the other side of the world, and the passion, the intensity for the club, I felt it immediately. I met Sirkin, if you watch him, at Top Bloke. I met him. He was the leader of the supporters club. And that guy had encyclopedic knowledge of Manchester City, and their dedication is remarkable. And City are a long way from the club that we grew up watching. And in a good way, they are a truly global club, and it's a beautiful thing. Because everyone's take on football fandom is so different, but it sort of enriches and nourishes it entirely. And the club is a better club for it. Having that fan base over there, having that fan base all around the world, and I love seeing it because it's just beautiful watching. And as Nico Gonzalez said, it must feel wonderful. They don't consider that people are watching City in Seoul or in Paraguay or wherever, but they are. And that's the beauty of our club these days.
Maybe a pre-season tour of Paraguay next year, possibly. Who knows? Yeah. To say also that this isn't the only pre-season Manchester City are involved in. The women also start their pre-season. The WSL champions and the FA Cup winners start their pre-season tonight. They're away in Fiorentina, and that game will be live for you on City Plus tonight as well from 7 o'clock kickoff. This evening we are expecting the Manchester City press conference any moment now. I have held off this leadership debate. I'm determined to do it. We'll do it after the press conferences, but maybe in the comments let us know who you think should be part of the leadership group this season. Well, Phil Foden's put his name forward. Ruben Diaz we expect to be in that as well.
Well, probably no, because the season would have started by the time the press conference started anyway. They're pushing us, aren't they? So I think before we get onto that debate anyway, I think the players sort of, this is a good chance for any of them to show who deserves to be in it. I'm sure Maresca will have ideas in mind. But you don't have to wear the armband to be a captain. It's an obvious cliche, but some players do lead by example. And now more than ever, it seems to be the theme of this show. But it's so true that now more than ever, there's a chance for people to genuinely make their name. Maresca will be looking around and looking them all in the eyes and listening to what they have to say. Who is the loudest on the training pitch? Who is helping the young lad? Who's putting the balls back in the bag after training? All these things do matter. They show signs of humility and leadership, and that. Naturally, there's a void after Nathan Ake leaves, Bernardo Silva, John Stones, and before that, De Bruyne, Gundogan. There's so many legends, like Edison, so many legends that have moved on after serving us so wonderfully, but people who've worn the captain's armband. Now, if I was one of those players, I'd be like, I want to be Manchester City captain, absolutely, and this will be a chance for them to remind their teammates just how good they are, but more importantly than that, to be a good teammate, be a good partner to them, because City aren't going to succeed this season without them all pulling together collectively. There will, of course, be a fierce competition and desire from all of them to get on the pitch. But that will only make Manchester City better. It'll only make them better individually. And I think the beauty of a team as well run as Manchester City is that they all know that. There's absolutely no jealousy amongst those players. They want to be on the pitch, absolutely, but they like each other first and foremost, and they support each other. And you see it, there's spells last season where we've had like world-class players sat on the bench, but they're there supporting the teammates anyway. And I remember, you look at Donnarumma like supporting James Trafford as well when he was starting the final. Look at Diaz on the bench when Kusanov or Gay was starting, supporting his teammates. That is what you want to see. And that, to me, is what Maresca will be looking for, the players who are in it for the team, not just themselves, and that's what makes a great captain.
Had a fantastic comment from the producer in my ear, who's eagle-eyed watching this press conference. He said he can see a door.
Well, there we go.
There we go. This is the
breaking news.
These are the insights we provide you on Pitchside Live. We'll be Pitchside Live, literally in Seoul with FG. Shaun, Wright-Phillips and Scott Carson a little bit later on for the open training session. We're expecting Rico Lewis and Enzo Maresca to speak to the media ahead of tomorrow's game with Atletico Madrid. Shortly, that captain's armband, it was Rico Lewis in the first game, interestingly, who wore that armband. In the second game, it rotated a little bit. I think Ruben Diaz had the armband. I think it ended up with Mateus Nunes at the end of the game as well. Rico Lewis, who we're expecting to hear from, we haven't actually touched on him yet, and where perhaps this season goes for him. I don't think he got as many minutes as he would have wanted last season, of course, but had the armband for a bit as well. So when we do discuss that leadership debate a little bit later on, he'll have to come up in that conversation. Where does this pre-season, where does this season fit for him?
I think he wore it in the 10-1 game, didn't he? 10-0 game last season, didn't he? For briefly at the end. What a lovely week for him, where he wore the armband, and I think his sister signed up for a professional contract too as well. Incredible scenes in the Lewis household. The most City family ever right now. But yeah, I think he'll be looking at this. I think he got married in the summer as well. A massive chance for him to just kick on professionally. And he said, I think you pulled the quotes last week actually, where he said it was the best thing that happened to him last season, where he got a chance to really assess himself and look what's working for him, what's not. He clearly has an intense desire to be at Manchester City. It's in his blood, and the whole family are obsessed with this club. And Rico Lewis is. I found myself watching clips of the treble season the other day, and it amazed me how often Rico Lewis is at the heart of some of the football that we're playing, because he's one of the smartest players at Manchester City, full stop. I know he didn't play that much last season, but his understanding of space in the game, as Guardiola was always so keen to point out, is second to none. And this is a player that made his name at Manchester City when Maresca was the first team coach under Guardiola in the treble season. And Maresca knows what he can bring. Maresca knows his versatility. And also Maresca, according to reports, wants a bigger squad than the one Guardiola's got. Rico Lewis is young, he's homegrown, club trained, so he fits into the squad quota as well. And he's remarkably versatile. And as you've pointed out already, he's wore the captain's armband, and he's here now to probably talk about why he deserves to start right back for Manchester City this season.
I was wondering how long that walk from the pitch side of the stadium to the press conference room would be. It's not been that long. Rico Lewis is alongside his manager, Enzo Maresca, ahead of the game with Atletico Madrid tomorrow. Let's hear from the pair of them.
예, 이제 두 분과 함께 기자회견을 진행을 해볼 텐데요. 지난번과 마찬가지로 맨체스터 시티의 비디오 오퍼레이터 분께서 여러분의 질문을 선정을 해서 또 질문하실 분들을 고르시게 되겠습니다. 질문이 있으신 분들께서는요, 손을 들어주시면 이쪽에서 선정을 해서 기회를 드리도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you, everyone. We'll take questions for Rico first, please. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Rico will then go to training, and we'll take questions for the manager. So we'll start with questions from English media, followed by questions from local media.
네, 진행 순서 말씀드리겠습니다. 먼저 리코 선수에 대한 인터뷰를 진행한 이후에 그 다음에 이제 마레스카 감독님 인터뷰를 진행할 거고요. 먼저 순서는 동일하게 선수분, 감독분 먼저 모두 해외 언론분들 먼저 질문하시고 그 다음에 한국 언론분들께 질문할 기회를 드리도록 하겠습니다.
Hi Rico, it might be difficult with him sat next to you, but what is Enzo like as a manager, as a man kind of with you, players in training in the dressing room, what makes him who he is?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself, there's nothing negative. Yeah, obviously I've known him since the treble season, but a lot of the players know him. From the first week we knew what it was going to be like. It was very direct, very clear, very honest. And yeah, it's followed in the changing room, into the sessions. Everything's clear, the patterns, the way he wants us to work. So I think that's an important thing as a player, to have a clear path, a clear idea of what you want to do and what the manager wants from you. And that's been how it's been so far.
네, 리코 선수에 대한 질문으로 감독님에 대해서 감독으로는 어떤지, 또 개인 사람으로서는 어떤지, 훈련이나 라커룸에서 어떤지에 대한 의견을 물었습니다. 리코 선수의 답변은 바로 옆에 있기 때문에 당연히 부정적인 말은 하기 어렵지만, 솔직히 감독님께서 팀에 합류하기 전부터 이미 개인적으로 제가 휴가를 보낸 기간에도 어떤 분인지 잘 알고 계셨습니다. 저뿐만 아니라 다른 선수들도 마레스카 감독님에 대해서 이미 잘 알고 있었고, 마레스카 감독님께서는 솔직하시고 친절하고 그 다음에 이제 명확한 방향성을 제시해주기 때문에 훈련이나 라크룸에 있어서 관계를 쌓아가기 되게 편하다고 생각합니다. 저랑 다른 선수들 모두 감독님께서 명확한 방향성을 제시해주기 때문에 이대로 따르는 걸로 요즘 준비를 하고 있는 상황입니다.
Hi Rico, it's only been a couple of weeks, but how much has pre-season differed under Enzo to what you had in the Pep?
I don't know. I think in terms of football, only so much can be different in terms of the whole getting fit, getting to know the patterns and stuff like that. I think it's been pretty similar. Like I said before about he's a new manager, he wants us to have the new ideas, but once it's that, it's just about implementing them on the pitch, and like you've seen in the games as well. So it's been pretty similar, but yeah, obviously we've been working hard and it's been enjoyable.
네, 새로운 질문 먼저 전달드리겠습니다. 새로운 감독님이 오셨는데 지난 프리시즌과 이번 프리시즌의 차이를 물었습니다. 선수의 답변은 큰 틀에서 축구는 비슷하기 때문에 새로운 감독님이 오셔서 새로운 아이디어를 주입하고 있지만 전술과 패턴을 익히는 중이고 지금 모든 선수들이 경기장에서 이를 보여주기 위해서 애쓰고 있는 상태입니다.
Hi Rico. Since Enzo was here as a coach, you've lost quite a lot of sort of players from that treble-winning team. You must almost feel like one of the most experienced players in some ways now.
Yeah, it's strange. Obviously, I'm still quite young, but yeah, I definitely feel a bit like that with some people leaving. But you know, that's part of football. People leave, people come, people stay. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what the season holds.
네, 기자분께서 마레스카 감독이 코치 시절에 리코 루이스 선수는 그 코치 시절에도 경험을 했는데 어린 선수지만 이미 감독님을 경험한 선수의 입장에서 어떤 감독님을 생각하고 있는지 물어보셨습니다. 저 또한 아직 어리다고 생각하지만 말씀해 주신 것처럼 코치님을 어릴 때 코치 시절부터 알고 있었기 때문에 감독님은 상당히 익숙하고 항상 오고 가고 이적을 하는 것이 축구 일부이기 때문에 비록 마레스카 그 당시 코치님이 이적을 나가셨다가 감독으로 돌아오셨지만 이미 저는 익숙하다고 생각하고 있습니다.
Enrico, there's been reports overnight about Barcelona and Rodri, that Rodri could possibly move into Spain. I mean, obviously the players will want him to stay, but can you sort of contribute? Can you sort of let us know or give a sort of indication of how important a player he's been for City over the years?
Yeah, I don't think I need to say that. I think everyone in this room and everyone in the world knows how good of a player Rodri is. But like I said before, it's football. People leave, people stay. Obviously I don't know every detail about this, but it's football, and I don't think it changes the landscape of anything that the manager wants to do here or anyone else. I think everyone knows how good of a player he is, and that just shows with his accolades. But yeah, we'll see.
최근에 바르셀로나로 바르셀로나 이적설이 뜨고 있는 로드리 선수에 대해서 개인적으로 해당 이적에 대해서 알고 있는 바가 있는지 여쭤보았습니다. 모두 다 알고 있듯이 로드리 선수는 세계 최고의 선수 중 한 명입니다. 그리고 방금 말씀드린 것처럼 축구계에서는 누구나 다 떠나고 다시 돌아오는 것이 일부이기 때문에 제가 모든 사세한 디테일들을 다 말씀드릴 수 없고 저뿐만 아니라 옆에 계신 감독님도 개인적으로는 이적에 대해서는 관여하기 어렵고 말씀드리기 어려울 것 같습니다.
Time for one or two questions from local media.
이제 여기 한국 미디어 분들에게 리코 선수에 대한 질문을 받도록 하겠습니다.
No? Okay, we'll let Rico go to training. Thank you. Cheers. Okay, the same process as before, please, guys. We'll start with questions from UK media, followed by questions from local media. Someone start, please.
Hiya, Enzo. We've seen quite a few of the younger players get a chance over the last couple of games. One of the guys who hasn't had any minutes yet is Divine Makassa. He made his debut last year, then went out to Leicester. Just wondered what your sort of thoughts on his development were and what his season might look like.
No, Divine is a good player. The only problem is that we have so many players that we have made already many rotation, and we struggle to find some minutes for him, for Floyd, for probably also Xavier that is here with us. So there are 3-4 players that they didn't get minutes in the friendly game, but they are training with us every day, and we can see the way they are improving. That is important. And again, the only problem with them is the amount of players that we have in this moment.
기자분의 질문 먼저 통역해드리겠습니다. 최근 프리시즌 몇 경기 동안 어린 선수들에게 기회를 많이 주고 있는데 작년에 성인 무대에서 데뷔를 했음에도 불구하고 프리시즌에서 아직 기회를 받지 못한 마카사 선수에 대해서는 어떤 기용 계획이 있는지 여쭤보셨습니다. 감독님의 답변은 그 선수는 분명히 좋은 선수임은 분명하지만 저희 스쿼드는 좋은 선수들이 많고 로테이션이 불가피하다고 합니다. 그리고 아직은 분명히 기회를 더 줄 수 있는 기회가 있기 때문에 아직까지 출전하지 못했다 하더라도 충분히 기회를 줄 수 있고 저희 선수들은 모두 스쿼드 멤버로서 하나하나 소중한 선수들이라고 생각을 합니다.
Hi Enzo. Obviously James Trafford has completed his move to Leeds. He's a player that you know very well and a player that would have fit your style quite well if he'd stayed. Was it the case that that transfer was already figured out before you arrived? Was it a case that he was always going to leave and there was nothing you could really do to change that, or were you able to try and speak to him?
No, there are players that unfortunately, like James, unfortunately last year they didn't play a lot, and at the end, player they work every day to get minutes and to play games, and when they don't play, it's normal that probably they are sad, they want to play more games, and probably it's James' case. The club was happy with him, everyone was happy with him, but at the end, probably he was looking for more games.
기자분의 질문 먼저 통역해드리겠습니다. 제임스 트래포드 선수가 최근 리즈 유나이티드로 이적을 마쳤는데 분명히 그 선수는 새로운 감독님 밑에서 스타일이 맞았을 걸로 예상됐습니다. 해당 선수의 이적이 이미 마레스카 감독님 합류 전에 작업이 이루어졌던 거였는지 여쭤보셨습니다. 감독님의 답변은 트래포드 선수는 분명히 훌륭한 선수입니다. 그는 지난 시즌 많은 경기에 뛰지 못했지만 경기에 저희 팀에 많은 관여를 했던 선수고 모두 저희 구단에 있는 모두가 트래포드 선수를 좋아했었습니다. 다만 축구 선수들이 출전 시간을 확보하기 위해서 이적을 하려고 하면 막을 수 없기 때문에 트래포드 선수도 그 이유로 이적을 한 걸로 생각합니다.
Are there any players in a similar situation to him who didn't play much last season and weren't happy, but you've been able to speak to and say you've got the opportunity to make it different? Is there anybody who was maybe thinking of leaving that might now stay?
No, the only thing I said since we start to the players that for me it's a new reset. So all of them, they all start at the same level, and the pre-season will dictate a little bit also the window transfer. So this has been a general message for all of them, the ones that they played more minutes last year or the ones that they played less minutes. But at the end, the message has been the same for everyone. It's like, for me, it's a reset.
기자분의 질문 먼저 통역해드리겠습니다. 트래포드 선수와 비슷하게 출전 시간에 불만족을 가졌던 선수는 없는지, 그리고 그런 선수들에게 대화를 하고 팀에 잔류하도록 설득한 선수가 있는지 물어보셨습니다. 감독님의 답변 전달해드리겠습니다. 저는 세미누를 포함한 모든 선수들에게 동일한 답변을 했습니다. 지난 시즌에 출전 시간을 많이 가졌던 선수건 갖지 못했던 선수건 모두들 다 리셋돼서 동일한 출발선에 서 있다고 합니다. 그리고 프리시즌 활약도 지켜보아야 하기 때문에 남은 이적 시장에서는 모두 지난 시간에 출전 시간 여부를 불문하고 다들 지켜볼 기회를 부여받을 것입니다.
Enzo, I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but what have you learned from this group of players, and has any in particular stood out to impress you?
The willingness has been very good since day one. They have been very open-minded with the new manager arrive, change some structures, change some patterns, the way we want to play on the ball, off the ball in general. This has been the main thing. And then the work ethic probably from the one that built year after year also is important. And as I said, these 10 days, 2 weeks since we start, it's also important to share time with players, because I need to know them. I need connection with them. That it's important for the future.
기자분께서 프리시즌에서 선수들을 한 1, 2주간 만났는데 선수들과 만난 느낌을 물어보셨습니다. 감독님의 답변 전달해드리겠습니다. 선수들을 만난 1일차부터 굉장히 훌륭했다고 생각합니다. 선수들은 모두 오픈마인드로 새로운 변화, 새로운 환경에 대해서 받아들일 준비가 되어 있었고 저희의 플레이의 변화, 온더볼이건 오프더볼이건 모두 다 저의 변화를 잘 받아들일 준비가 되어 있었습니다. 또한 몇 년간 저희 클럽에서 훌륭하게 자리 잡은 워크에틱도 여전히 자리 잡고 있었고 최근 1, 2주 프리시즌 동안 개인적으로 이제 새로 만나게 된 선수들과 알아가는 시간을 보낼 수 있었기 때문에 소중한 시간을 보내고 있었습니다.
We'll take some questions from local media, please.
한국 기자분들께서 질문해 주시면 되겠습니다.
그 감독님 아무래도 그 전임자가 펩 가르디올라가 세계 최고 감독이었기 때문에 좀 이걸 이어간다는 부담감이 심하실 것 같은데 여기에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 그 헤어스타일만 펩이랑 똑같은지 아니면 전술이나 철학도 좀 비슷하게 갈 것인지 아니면 완전히 다른 축구를 할지 좀 그게 궁금합니다.
So as the previous manager was the world-class world number one Pep Guardiola, do you have any pressure? And what do you expect the similarities between the previous manager and your team?
No pressure, just a privilege. I said in the first press conference, for me it's a huge privilege to be here, to be a city manager. And then in terms of expectation, this is a club that needs to win title, needs to compete for title, and we're gonna try to do exactly the same.
네, 저는 전임 감독이 펩 과르디올라라는 점에서 압박을 느끼기보다는 오히려 굉장한 영광이고 특혜라고 생각하고 있습니다. 맨시티라는 구단에 대해서 기대감 높은 것은 지금이나 예전이나 똑같고 저도 이를 잘 알고 있기 때문에 타이틀 경쟁을 위해서 최선을 다할 것입니다.
Just the last question up here, please. Thank you.
감독님, 그 아틀레티코 마드리드에 새로 영입된 선수들이 여럿 있는데 그 중에 이제 뭐 히울만 선수도 있고 이강인 선수도 있는데 그 선수들에 대해서 이제 내일 만나는 적장으로서 그 선수들을 좀 어떻게 평가하시는지 궁금합니다.
So your opponent on tomorrow's match, Atletico Madrid, had a few coming in transfers such as Igangin. What was your plan to play against those new players, new Atletico players?
He showed that he's a very good player. Fantastic. We are excited to play against tomorrow, not against Atletico Madrid in general, against him, against the new player. And again, I'm sure that he will be very good for Atletico Madrid.
이강인 선수는 훌륭한 선수임이 분명합니다. 그리고 내일 경기에 대해서 이강인 선수를 포함한 신입 선수들 그리고 아틀레티코 마드리드 구단과 대결을 기대하고 있고 이강인 선수를 비롯한 아틀레티코 마드리드 여학생들은 모두 팀에 훌륭한 도움이 될 거라고 믿어 의심치 않습니다.
네, 이것으로 사전 기자회견도 모두 마치도록 하겠습니다. 이어서 윤자인 캐스터, 황정현 해설위원, 임영철 해설위원 그리고 홍석천 씨가 준비를 하고 있습니다. 맨체스터 시티의 오픈 트레이닝도 함께해 주시기 바라겠습니다.
So there we have it, the press conferences of Enzo Maresca and Rico Lewis. Before that, Rico Lewis left a little bit early so he can join the likes of Gianluigi Donnarumma and the Manchester City goalkeepers out there for their training session. Will be pitchside live very shortly. FG, SWP, Shaun, Wright-Phillips and Scott Carson are out there for us. Rico Lewis was asked, with the manager sat next to him, what he made of Enzo Maresca. It was all very complimentary, as you'd expect. And also asked about the experience, how he's actually one of the more experienced members of the side, one of the few remaining from the treble-winning year of 2023. So we'll listen back to that a little bit later on. Enzo Maresca was asked about what he's been seen so far within the side. He spoke very highly of James Trafford, who moved to Leeds United earlier this week. How the pre-season, how the new manager coming in has been a reset for all the players. How they start on a blank page and everybody gets the chance, whether they had more minutes or less minutes than perhaps they wanted last season. Everybody starts on a level playing field. He said the players have been open-minded to his tactics and his ideas. And you can see some of the players out there just getting ready for that open training session. And also how pressure is a privilege. Succeeding Pep Guardiola as manager was always going to be a tricky task. But one thing you were saying whilst we were listening to those press conferences, Stephen, is how you've enjoyed what Enzo Maresca's been doing and what he's had to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this City side is sort of primed to kick on anyway. You think of last season, we were only a game and a half away, 2 games away from winning the treble. It's a crazy thing to think about that. The margins were that fine, but that was a team very much on an upward trajectory under Guardiola, and he essentially handed this young, hungry, eager squad with so many new faces to Maresca to go on and take the next step. And I think Maresca is primed to do that. And the more I think about Enzo Maresca, the more I think it's the right decision for Manchester City to bring him in. And look, you can obviously tell he's got the pedigree, but you can also see that he's got the hunger, because the way he speaks about Guardiola, I really like that. He said it's a privilege, it's not pressure. I really like that. Really unfazed, but also respectful response. And most people run away from a challenge that big because they want to be the one after the one, you know. And we've seen historically so many managers struggle to step into the shoes of a legend. He referenced this himself, the difficulties following Ferguson and Wenger at rival clubs. He brought that up himself, which I thought was brave to say that. He's aware of that. He doesn't care, because he understands to get the chance to be Manchester City manager is, in his own words, a privilege, and to follow Guardiola is an honour. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. So I really like his take on it, because you can tell it's sincere. You can tell he genuinely is fearless in this. And how does that not transmit to the players? If he's not scared to follow Guardiola, why should Mark Gay be scared to follow in the footsteps of people like Vincent Kompany and all those great players who've played at centre-back? Why should Ryan Shirky be scared to follow in the footsteps of Kevin De Bruyne? And why should, Kusa not be scared to follow the footsteps of John Stones and all these legends that have left? Anderson for Bernardo Silva. Look, fortune does favour the bold, and you can tell that Maresca is a very confident, very brave man, and yeah, I've really enjoyed him so far. Yeah,
Maresca obviously spoke well, as you heard there. One thing I did pick up on as well, Rico Lewis was alongside him for the first part of the press conference. Looks bright, looks happy, looks like a re-energised kind of player. I know he's had a busy summer. He held a charity match. He got married. He's now his sister. He interviewed his sister for Manchester City after she signed her first professional deal as a women's player. But he did look relaxed and happy. Yeah, I think he's a very young still, Rico Lewis, but he's been through so much already, and he's had ups and downs in his career. He's done so much, almost probably too much at that age, and I think that's afforded him, this summer has afforded him time to reflect on himself, what he's achieved, what he wants to achieve, and maybe the manager coming back round who gave him, he was pivotal in his development as a young player as well. Him coming back round would have felt like a bit of a moment for him personally, and as we said, he's got married and he's had a bit of time to have some time with his family, as his sister signed her first professional contract with Man City Women. All this will mean a lot to him. He'll probably feel very nostalgic and reflective, and that will feed him well. Given his game anyway is based on intelligence and technical ability. Look, he'll be out there this summer realising that he's surrounded by players that are just happy to be there because they're kids, they are young, they want to be Rico Lewis, they want to achieve what he did at Manchester City when I don't think I'm exaggerating here, he gave the treble-winning side, he gave them a shot of energy and hunger that was pivotal in the history of Manchester City Football Club. Rico had that much of an impact on that side. Like Joao Cancelo and Kyle Walker had to watch for a little bit as he came in, and that's incredible. They're world-class players. So I think Rico this summer wore the captain's armband. He'll be a player that Maresca trusts. He's experienced despite his tender years. He'll be teaching these young lads what it takes to be Manchester City players, and I don't see how he won't enjoy that given his maturity already. Let's hear from Rico Lewis. The first question he was asked in his press conference when sat alongside the Manchester City manager Enzo Maresca was what he's made of Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, I can only speak for myself, or there's nothing negative. Yeah, obviously I've known him since the treble season, but a lot of the players know him. From the first week, we knew what it was going to be like. It was very direct, very clear, very honest, and yeah, it's followed in the changing room into the sessions. Everything's clear, the patterns, the way he wants us to work. So I think that's an important thing as a player, to have a clear path, a clear idea of what you want to do and what the manager wants from you, and that's been how it's been so far.
Nice to see them both smiling, and Enzo Maresca, I think, enjoyed that answer as well. But we talked a little bit before the press conference how it is a reset. Enzo Maresca mentioned it in his press conference as well, a reset for a lot of players, and it does feel that Rico Lewis could be one of those that benefits from that reset. Didn't get the minutes that perhaps he wanted last year, and weirdly, even though, as you say, he's so young, he is one of the most experienced within Manchester City, i.e. he's been there one of the longest. He's one of a handful that still survived from the treble year.
He's played for his country. He's won the FIFA Club World Cup. He's won the Champions League. He's won the Premier League. He's done it all already. It's a ridiculous set of accomplishments for a player so young. FA Cup, Carabao Cup. He's genuinely completed football domestically. So he absolutely understands what it takes to achieve at the highest level. Like these young players, these new players, if you're Kusanov, you want a taste of that experience that Rico Lewis got. If you're Elliot Anderson coming in, a £116 million midfielder, Rico Lewis has been much further in his career than Elliot Anderson ever has. So this is something to take seriously. He has an experience and a composure that absolutely will benefit him. I was just thinking then, as he was talking about, we're talking about the reset. I actually think it's a good thing that there's so many new players right now, because I reckon maybe for some of the other players, if you came in, in a post-Guardiola reign with a new manager, and maybe the manager would prefer the consistency, but if you already had 10, 11 world-class players and a nailed-on starting 11, and all those legends were still there, maybe some of these players who maybe were on the periphery last season, or some of these younger ones, might not have felt the conviction when someone said, yeah, it's a clean slate. But there actually is, because so many players have left. It's very obvious that everyone is in the same situation. Everyone clearly is trying to make the impact on what is a very new side. It's a new manager with a new side, and I think that it truly is, metaphorically and literally, a clean slate for everyone. So, yeah, I think it's a really exciting time.
He's at the Rico Lewis is at the back of those pictures that you can see there towards the right-hand side of your screen. Right, I've been given strictly instructions to go pitch side in Korea, where Shaun Wright-Phillips of Strictly Come Dancing fame is there. I don't think that joke's ever going to get old. Scott Carson and also FG is there. Hi, gents.
Hello, mate. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Mokdong Stadium. Stephen, listen, thank you for the text the other night. Stephen, who's in the studio, sent me a text saying I quite like your shorts because I went home quite upset about my shorts. Scott, what do you think about what I'm wearing today?
Best we've seen you all trip.
Yeah, available at mancity.com, which is why Scott won't say a word about me. Welcome back, Jed. Shaun Wright-Phillips and Scott Carson here as well. We're here at Open Training. It's been a long tour for these players, and this is the penultimate event they've got before match day tomorrow against Atletico Madrid. We have to start, though, pitchside, with a happy anniversary to the GOAT. Scott Carson, on this day, 7 years ago, you signed at Manchester City. Happy anniversary, Scott. How did you celebrate?
Not much celebrating, but I remember the day really well, I'm sure. I remember it really well. It was my lad's birthday, and I was getting dragged around a theme park and got the call, and obviously the rest is history, as I say.
Well, happy birthday to your lad today then as well. And you're at the theme park, you got the call, you signed for City. Could you ever have imagined that your journey would have looked like this, where you'd been there and had such a huge impact during the most successful period in the club's history?
No, definitely not. Obviously, I went with my eyes wide open and thought it was just going to be for one season, and ended up staying 5-6 seasons, which from that day I got the call, I'd never expected to be at the club that long, because you only had to look around the dressing room and see the amount of names that had been there before and were coming in while I was there. So obviously it was an amazing time and amazing place for me to obviously end my career.
And much like the man beside me, you left and then you came back. Well, the difference is, Shaun, you came back as a player and Scott came back as a punter.
There's still a chance. I need to get back in the gym when I get home.
I also have to mention in the studio they introduced you. It's no longer Man City legend, which this man is, by the way. It's now Strictly Come Dancing's finest. At what point are you going to say it's getting a little bit old now?
I'd said that 10 days ago.
Well, Shaun, I'm super excited to watch the game with you guys tomorrow. One thing is, a word on the temperature. The temperature's dropped quite significantly, which is why we're not all sweating like mad. That makes a huge difference, Shaun, for these players out here. Do you think the intensity will increase in this session, or will it still be quite a light one with a match day tomorrow?
The intensity will be there because that's just the way City have always trained. You can't just switch that on and off all the time. So I think the intensity will be there, but it'll also be a little bit light at the same time, if that makes sense. But because of the temperature, it makes the game tomorrow look even better. I feel like the game will be better for both parts of both teams, and hopefully it's high energy.
I mean, in terms of what we're seeing, Scott, at the minute behind us, there's a lot of laughs, there's a lot of smiles. The players seem to be having a really, really good time. That's nice for the fans to see, but it also shows a lot with the togetherness. When you're on pre-season tour, we saw it earlier, they were playing ping pong together, all having fun. They really do bond, because previously, like you said, there's not really much to do apart from stay in the hotel together.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, as a group of lads, you want to be kept busy. So, like you just said, the ping pong and stuff like that. And we've obviously me and Wrighty see them in the hotel, and they're always having a laugh. And there's always a couple of little groups out and about and going for a little walk and stuff. And no, I think that's what pre-season's about as well. It's building them bonds between the players, and like I touched on last time, the trip we had before the treble season was probably the making of that season, and put us in the right step, and obviously it worked out really well.
If you're just joining us, you have just missed the press conference between Enzo Maresca and Rico Lewis. We'll come to that in a moment, because there were some really good quotes there. But I want to focus on Matheus Nunes at the moment, because City fans all around the world will be chronically online like myself and Shaun, not so much like Scott, but he was really, really impressive in what he said. For context for everyone watching, it was very much about his right-back position, how he didn't, at some point in his head, accept that he was a right-back. You know, his best friends at City, Ruben and Bernardo, were all saying how great he is at right-back. He just wasn't believing them. He got a psychologist, he spoke to friends, and he said if he hadn't have accepted it in his head, he probably would have missed out on the opportunity to be where he is today. We'll come to where he is today right now, Shaun, but being that player in a position where you're sort of like, I don't really want to play here, what does it feel like, and what would he have been feeling?
In many ways, it would have shot his confidence a whole lot, because when you get bought for the type of money he got bought for, playing well in a position that he got bought for, and then he comes here, doesn't get very many minutes, and the minutes that he does get starts to be a right back. It's like you start thinking to yourself, well, hold on, that's the position I want to be. What are you saying? I'm not good enough to play there. So then you get into a battle, I feel like we're saying, well, I'm going to show you I'm good enough to play centre midfield. So you're not thinking as much as playing as a right back. So your head's in the wrong space completely. And it kind of happened to me a little bit, because as you know, I was a winger. Kevin Keegan was playing me right wing back. I was like, I don't know how to defend. And I had to learn how to defend. I had to learn how to get headers at the back post. And all these things run through your head. But at the end of the day, he's found it, because his passion for football is greater than the sacrifice that he had to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, you were there at the point when he broke through, and at the start it was a completely different Matheus Nunes to what we're seeing. It was a Matheus Nunes that you think, okay, he needs to learn quite a lot and quickly, and that's exactly what he did. He's been absolutely fantastic in the conversations for the best fullback in the league last season. Very much, you could argue, nailed down that position, and potentially even given people at Manchester City something to think about, because to replace a right-back like Kyle Walker is an incredible feat, and he seems to be in the position where he's done so well, and he's getting better and better game by game.
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously, I was there when he came in, and at the start it was probably pretty tough for him. He got signed for a lot of money, probably expected to play a lot more minutes than he was getting, and obviously the opportunity at right back came up, and I think as a player, obviously it's a bit different for me because we can only play one position.
Unless you're Ederson.
I think outfield players, sometimes it doesn't matter what position you are, as long as you get on that field, you're happy. So I think at the time he probably struggled with it a little bit, because, like I said, he got brought in as a up and down midfielder, and I think probably when he got grips with it himself in his head, you could see him. He just grew and grew, and he's, like you said, he was outstanding. And the thing is, he's only going to get better playing that position, because he's pretty new to it.
30 minutes in the last game, his first pre-season game. He looked good. The climate was crazy. I mean, for those of you who watched Matchday Live, we were interviewing Nico Gonzalez, and the poor man had looked like he'd had a shower with his kit on, Shaun. Look, he's going to be involved, you'd expect, tomorrow. How much do you think he'll play, considering he's played 30 minutes in the game? Will it be a case of just more than 30? Is that normally what pre-season's like when you go into your second game?
Well, yeah, in many ways, as bad as you want to kind of hold him back a little bit, you got the Community Shield coming up. So you have to get him prepared, and all the players you want to start in that game for that game. So the minutes have to crank up. They have to start getting to the 60s and the 70s. And sometimes it's hard because you've got like a load of young kids here that you want to give minutes to. But because there's only 3 friendlies before that game, they're going to miss out on a lot of time just because of that.
Yeah, I'm sure the players who haven't played, though, would have gained so much from being here. I want to ask you, Scott, next week the players, of course, we're travelling back after the Atletico Madrid game. That's a night flight. You'd imagine they'll have a couple of days off, but there's some players who haven't yet linked up with the squad from the World Cup. That's albeit because they did so well at that tournament. Where do they integrate, do you think? In the next week of training, do they train away from these players who have already started pre-season, or do they just come straight into training? Is there more running for them? Like Shaun said, it's the Community Shield, and it's straight back into action for the Premier League season.
The thing is, the lads who will be coming back probably only played a game 3 weeks ago, so you're not really going to lose too much fitness. It's more just about sharpening up, and I'm sure as soon as they come back, they're going to be involved straight away in the sessions. And the Community Shield for them is basically like their first pre-season game, so they're obviously going to be want to be back for that, and probably going to get minutes in it to boost the fitness for when the season starts.
And the way pre-season's gone for City, Shaun, is our last game is against Atletico Madrid. I mean, with respect to our other opponents, the Inter Milan game very much was the first game of pre-season. This game we expect to be more high intensity. They're managed by a man who's been at the club for well over a decade, going closer to 2 decades. Diego Simeone, he's been absolutely fantastic as a manager. They're well drilled. What can City expect from the tempo and overall the test that Atletico are going to give them?
First of all, is that you know you're going to get the physicality, because for whatever reason, all of a sudden City and this rivalry between Atleti is quite an aggressive, bruisey one. And I know Jack had a lot to play in that, but I mean, for whatever reason, it's just carried on. So you're going to get that. You're going to get the sharpness, because they'll be on the tail end as well, if that makes sense, in terms of getting prepared for their season as well. So they're going to push us as hard as they can, and I think that's what makes for a good game, because we're going to have to up our levels to keep with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic game. Scott, with the players travelling sort of back straight after the game, what is that like before, like knowing, obviously you've got to get your job done and then you're heading straight back to Manchester. It's a long night ahead. It doesn't really play a part of that travel, does it? Or is it just the excitement of getting back and having a couple of days off with your family, because the players have worked hard for so long?
Yeah, I think as players, obviously the most important is that last game. It's the last game of pre-season, and hopefully you get out of pre-season what you need to get out. And obviously it's going to be a bit of a hectic rush after the game and things like that, but no, I'm sure all the lads are probably happy to get back, see the families a couple of days, switch off, and then from whenever they're back in, it's pretty much that's it for the rest of the season, isn't it? There's not much time from there. So
Shaun, we've been lucky enough to be on a couple of tours together now. It's a new era here with a new manager. One thing that I want to ask you and also touch on from my personal experience, of course mine's very much as a fan, it seems like when you lose a manager who's the greatest around, it's really, really difficult. It seems like Enzo and his team have been relishing the opportunity. They've been very positive, a lot of humour, but also a lot of professionalism. The vibes are great around the camp, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's just been amazing to see also how he's just taken to it. It's almost like he hasn't left. The first thing I noticed is when we got on the plane to actually take off to go to Hong Kong to start with, and he just made an effort to walk around and shake everybody's hand just to like proper formally introduce himself, and then he would sit down with me and Scotty at breakfast, just randomly having a chat with us, talking about my son, who he thought was my nephew, which is quite interesting because he coached him as well. So it was just to see how he's doing it, and the way the players are taking on the new patterns of play and the tactics he's put in there. And he's happy to see that they're trying all these things they've been working on in training, and that's always a positive.
At the moment, we're watching live on Matchday Live some rondos going on. We will continue with the conversation of Enzo Maresca right now, because I think from a fan's perspective, where I'm watching it, and very much the viewers on Matchday Live and Pitchside Live as well, the moment was, for me, was when we interviewed him for the first time. He was so comfortable, but also I think he's got that memory where he knows what's going on around him at all times. He's taking things in, and he took in that our new pundit didn't ask him a question. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, Scott.
No, he's like Shaun just said, he's been brilliant with us around the hotel, because obviously he's trying to manage his team, and there's obviously a lot going on, but he took the time out to come and speak with us, which obviously he didn't have to. And no, while he was a coach, I had a great relationship with him. Always had a laugh, and it's been nice to obviously carry that on, because now he's the manager. I wasn't sure if that was going to be possible, but he hasn't changed, I'll tell you that.
Scott, what was it like for you coming into this role? Because, I mean, it's clear to see how loved you are at the club, and like we can all see it now as well from our perspective. But coming in, you said, I wasn't sure how he was going to be because he was the manager, and not much has really changed. But what was it like for you getting on board that flight that you were normally on as part of the team, coming as a pundit, experiencing amazing things, doing amazing activities outside of the hotel? What were you feeling in preparation to this tour?
I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of apprehension, and I was a bit nervous, and but no, I think from the minute I got on the plane and seeing a couple of lads I shared dressing room with, and they all came over, said hello, and obviously, like Shaun said, when Enzo come over, and straight away he's having a laugh and a joke, and from then I thought, it's not too bad. I think in my head I was a bit not sure what to expect really, but no, it's been brilliant.
Yeah, we've absolutely loved having you, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time. One thing I want to touch on, Shaun, is the manager. Enzo Maresca is not just managing training, he's running equally as much in a centre midfield position. He's extremely passionate. He's getting the minutes in himself. Maybe that's because the temperature's dropped a little bit as well, but what does that show? Him being that involved within the training. I'm not sure if he's sweating as much as he is, but I mean, look, he is non-stop. That is amazing, isn't it, to be a player in that?
Well, yeah, it is, but I just think managers put their tactics out in different ways, and maybe for Enzo, he can see what he wants to happen and the tactics, what he wants to put in play when he's in the middle of the pitch, and it looks enjoyable to me. It looks like he's right in there, and that the players must love that as well.
I think that's how it's changed as well, hasn't it? Like when we first started out, managers literally
stand on the side.
Just stand on the side. Didn't really see them too much, and they picked the team.
Yeah.
But obviously now the managers are pretty much they're coaches as well, aren't they? So they're not so much just picking a team. They're actually running all the sessions, and you can see he's right involved there.
I mean, where does this compare to what Pep's doing? Because Enzo, of course, I mean, we know how animated Pep is just from what we've seen on social media. Did Pep ever get involved in sessions as well like this, or is
Pep pretty much done all the coaching himself? He's obviously he had a lot of coaches, a lot of good coaches, but I think the stuff like we're seeing now, the tactical side, when it's that, it was Pep doing it, and obviously you can see Enzo's doing it now, and probably that's going to be his style as well. When the tactics are on, he's going to run them, but obviously the warm-ups and the shooting drills, that's what obviously all the other coaches will get involved with.
I mean, it's a very interesting point, this as well, that I want to make. We're watching the players on the pitch doing this rondo, and it looks like it's potentially set up with what we could maybe see tomorrow, because the other players are right at the back as well. They're not quite involved, but I mean, Shaun, is this something that would normally happen on a match day -1? You get your players, you get your patterns sorted.
Yeah, it'll be pretty similar to this, I would say. Especially when it was attacking, I think you would go into the natural goal, just so the goalkeeper is used to the goal size and the pitch and stuff like that. But in general, like it's really cool to see, because we used to do something not similar, because obviously football's changed a lot, but we would do sessions like that where there's nobody in it, and you're just popping the ball around into positions, knowing where your players are going to be when the ball's at certain times, in case you need to just clip it round the corner, and then you go and finish in a goal with a pattern play. So for me, it's great to see.
And doing this, like you said, it's just forming relationships as well with players on the pitch. We had a fantastic quote from Nico Gonzalez saying there was always someone around with him in the game that he played in. And as a player, knowing the players that you're playing with and you've trained with before, does that sort of add that extra edge going into
Yeah, it does. Yeah, obviously they're just doing a movement pattern now, which is Enzo's probably briefed them before, like, this is how we want to set up, this is what we want to do, and they're obviously just going through it now, and it's about when one person gets the ball, what positions are the other players in, and being available to get the ball, and when they do, either switching it out wide, either looking for the striker. It's just going through the details that they've probably discussed in the meeting, and then just making sure that they understand what Enzo's trying to tell them, and obviously they'll be looking to do something probably similar tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's ramping up. It's the last game of pre-season. I have to ask you both before we head back to our studio in Manchester. I want to ask you about the tour as a whole. Shaun, Scott, what's been your moment of the tour? What is something that stood out to you guys that you've enjoyed? Shaun, I mean, you've had so many amazing experiences with this club, and Scott, you as well as a player, but what has been the highlight for you guys?
I think when we did something this afternoon, me, myself, it's been the kids. I think going to the community, seeing the kids turn up in their 50s to 100s, very young girls, boys, and to see how the fan base has grown, because I've been here 3 or 4 times, and where it started, it was enormous anyway, and now it's just even bigger. And to see we now have City fans in South Korea who are babies, or 1, 2 and 3, just shows you how quick the club is growing.
Yeah, it's very, very great to see the amazing work you've done. Scott, what's been your moment?
Yeah, obviously, like Shaun said, working with the kids, and they're obviously the future of the football club and the fan base, but it's always nice to go and see them. But on a personal note, it has to be the baseball. I really enjoyed my time, and I keep rubbing it in.
No comment. We'll leave that one alone.
I'm not actually sure whether that's been shown, but if it hasn't been shown yet, there's some people who are just unfortunately better at us than other things, and
I couldn't agree more.
It was outrageous.
It was just ridiculous. I think he hit every ball out of 20.
No,
he might have missed one.
That because you said
I was stiff, to be fair.
it was worth it, though. I'm sure.
I felt like I'd got my boots back on and dived around a couple of times.
I don't know if you want to hear this, but I did try it again, and I was a lot better.
But that means you can't deal with the pressure then when we were there watching you.
It was not the pressure, it was more the heat.
It's probably hotter when you did it again.
That's what I was thinking.
It was so warm. I couldn't even think.
So you got better in the warmer weather, but you...
No, it got a bit cooler as you left.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, the sky went down, and listen, that's coming soon to Matchday Live, I'm sure, and you're going to really, really enjoy that. One thing's for certain, we've had an absolute pleasure. This is our last open training session being here, and I think from our perspective, it's just a thank you to everyone for watching Pitchside Live so far. We won't be back with Pitchside Live, but there will be Matchday Live tomorrow, and we're going to be super excited for it, because some of the stuff within that show is some amazing stuff that these guys have been doing whilst we've been here in Seoul. So we're heading back to the studio now. I've got to send some more love to Stephen. He had my back. He's the only man who messaged me saying my shorts were not swimming shorts.
I wouldn't say that's a good thing. I'm just putting it out there.
Stephen's a stylish man. Have you just roasted him as well?
I'm just saying, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good thing.
Listen, we'll let Mike chip in with that as well, Mike, Stephen. I hope you guys are doing well in Manchester. I thought I looked all right, to be honest.
Still looking sharp, my friend. Still looking sharp.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful.
We will see FG tomorrow, and Stephen rocking the brand new home shirt as well, looking as stylish as ever. Have you ever been called stylish before?
Maybe 20 years ago, mate. Usually these are 2 small boys is ice cream and stains, but today I washed today.
You washed. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. We can see Enzo Maresca on our screen there. We'll keep you shot as well of the live training session in Seoul. There, lovely shot of the evening sky in the Korean capital too. But Enzo Maresca working harder than some of the team the way he's running around on that pitch.
Yeah, he wants to be playing there, doesn't he? Yeah. I heard rumours of signing more midfielders. Maybe Maresca's one of them, so there we go. Yeah, I mean, a passionate man, an intense man, clearly involved. And I was just sat watching him, to be honest, where those guys were talking. And it's genuinely a pleasure to watch someone with such intensity and such commitment, I guess, to his own ideas, be out there enjoying himself. And I presume the players enjoy that, you know, when the manager's there up involved and being so clear, as Rico said, with his plans. And I don't think you can be that clear unless you're there right at the heart of it, as Maresca is. And I expect the players to react to that really well, and he looks like he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, a lot of praise for the work Enzo Maresca's doing, of course, as a new manager, and players perhaps so used to Pep Guardiola over the past decade that He does have to get involved and get active to get those ideas across, but he'll be in tune with his coaches that you can see in the background as well. There's Rico Lewis wearing the orange bib, Phil Foden looking very red-faced. They've only been out there, 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, but they are sweating like some warm conditions out there.
Yeah.
But that's good. It'll help the fitness, won't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a beautiful place to train, as you saw with the sunset there over the stadium. And I'm sure it's very humid, but it can't be quite as bad as it was the other day, where it felt like 45 degrees apparently. And this is what it's for. This is what pre-season's about. It's testing your fitness, working towards the Community Shield game, and yeah, it'll be a great training session for them.
Ruben Diaz, you can see they're back after Portugal's ventures in the World Cup that probably ended a little sooner than he or any of his international teammates would have wanted. Mateus Nunes including that. Bernardo Silva once off. Now it seems sad to say, once off Manchester City. But Ruben Diaz is there. We've seen Phil Foden in our shots already. Rico Lewis, we've spoken a lot about in this pre-season chat ahead of the Atletico Madrid game tomorrow. Let's hear, we'll talk about Diaz and Foden and Rico Lewis and all the others involved in the leadership group. This is what Rico Lewis had to say a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's strange, obviously. I'm still quite young, but yeah, I definitely feel a bit like that with some people leaving. But you know, that's part of football. People leave, people come, people stay. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what the season holds.
Maresca listening intently as well to that. So let's discuss the leadership group. We touched on it a little bit earlier. There is Rico Lewis himself. Who do you... I mean, in the past few seasons, it's been a 5-man leadership team. Erling Haaland will want to be in that conversation, as we say. Diaz, Lewis, Foden. Who do you expect to see in that group?
Erling Haaland, almost certainly. I think obviously last season he had the armband at times, and I think when you've got a player of that quality, that stature, around the world, not just Manchester City, he has to be a leader. He's one of the figureheads of the club, so him 100%. Ruben Diaz, if you create a mould and sort of printed a person as a captain, it's Ruben Diaz. Like he's cut from the same cloth as the legends like Vincent Kompany. He will clearly be there and up for it. And Phil Foden, you know, as we talked about before, he's been around forever. He's been around for the entirety of the Guardiola era, and that experience that he's got, when you want what you look for in a leader, you look for familiarity, you look for composure, maturity, been there, done that, the respect of their teammates. Can you speak up when you need to? When there were so many signs last season, you could debate whether it was his best season or not, but there were so many signs where you could see him with his arm around the younger players who were new to the team, one of the first to go and sort of support them, really, the new players. And that, to me, is what leaders do. They make other people feel relaxed. You don't have to be the loudest person in the dressing room. You don't have to be there shouting at everyone on the pitch. Sometimes you just got to make sure everyone else feels comfortable. And Phil Foden's very good at that. He's a very nice man, and he'll absolutely, as he said, expect to be one of the leaders this season. We need to. Look around for big personalities. They don't get bigger in every sense for someone like Gianluigi Donnarumma, a guy who's been there, done that, seen it all. He's a guy who loves that side of the game, controlling his teammates, being such a natural influence on the dressing room. And then of the new guys, Mark Gay is a captain. He's been there for Palace. He's obviously got some experience already, despite such a short period of time. He may not wear the armband just yet, but he'll absolutely be someone who's looking to do that at some point. The journey Mateus Nunes has been on as an individual. He's my favourite story in the squad currently. You know, he's fought for that place in the Manchester City side, and he wore the armband at the end of the friendly the other day. It could be his at some point, depending on the combination of players on the pitch. Rico, as you talked about, he's been there and done that. And look, Kovacic as well, another player of experience. There are many people who can be a captain, even if they aren't wearing the armband. And going back to the clean slate message, this is it. When you have John Stones, Nathan Ake, Bernardo Silva moving on, and the ones before that, someone's got to step up. And that, to me, often is the beauty of scenarios like right now.
And some of the talk about starting 11s and trying to fit City players. I mean,
everyone's going to get
it's
too hard.
Someone's going to get an armband there, aren't they? Every one of the 20-plus players in the Manchester City squad's going to get an armband. Gianluigi Donnarumma, he's on our screens right now. He's the Italy captain. Yeah. So he's got the international experience. Could he bring that domestically?
Absolutely, you can see why. I mean, he's won the Champions League. He's played for some of the biggest clubs in the world. Look, he's only been here for one season, but that's a man who knows how to win. That's a man who knows how to lead. And imposing, he sees the entire game, and he's clearly someone who would revel in the responsibility. Like, it's Italy. I know they've not had a great time for a while, but an historic footballing nation, and when you're the captain, that comes with incredible responsibility. And Donnarumma is He's a brilliant goalkeeper, but I do think part of the reason that he was brought in post-Edison is because of that experience, is because of that larger-than-life personality that we saw last season. He seems an incredibly likeable person. He's always one of the first to support his teammates. He's so supportive. He's a proper, like, you know, one of those guys on the pitch, which really helps. I think the players react to that. People like Ruben Diaz do, and he's obviously a natural leader. I don't expect him to be in that group, but stranger things have happened than Donnarumma being one of Manchester City's captains, given how impressive he was last season.
So many captain potentials, so many international potentials as well. Ruben Diaz could be the captain of Portugal if Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, decides to give it up. Bernardo Silva's obviously had that role as well in the past, so Diaz could get both domestic and international experience, or whether domestic trial is one for his international trial maybe as well. So I think it's a really interesting debate, and then the debate goes, do you want... There's so many different types of leaders. You've got your heart on your sleeve, roaring players, your Diaz's, you've got your emotional players, maybe Foden, you've got the supportive players, Donnarumma. I think it's a really interesting debate as to where Manchester City go this season. Phil Foden was running for a loose ball over there. Who else can we see on our screens at the moment? That's Rico Lewis, isn't it? As Manchester City score yet another goal in pre-season.
Did well with it.
It's very one-sided. It's very much defence versus attack. Joško Vardiol wouldn't be without consideration within those captain's talks as well.
So, I think that would have been part of his discussion in his contract. Look, Joško Vardiol, another who's achieved so much. He's been around in multiple international tournaments already, despite his tender years. And a man that I would be disappointed if Vardiol doesn't grow into a captain. Look, his position, his versatility, his experience, his composure in the way that he plays. If I was to think of a captain for Manchester City, I'd want it to be someone who embodies the spirit of the football that City play, and Vardiol absolutely is that. And you want a centre-back to be captain as well. And someone I would say who sort of grows into a man and experienced player at the team. Vardiol came as one of the most exciting young talents in world football. Right now, he's not that kid anymore. He's grown up an awful lot. He's got a big contract extension. He's, of course, seen Manchester City win the league already. He's been player of the season at one point. He's now seen City win a couple more trophies last season. And this year is a massive one for him, given the competition around him. We've talked already extensively about Diaz, Kusanov, Gueye, Vitor Hayes. Nico Riley as an opposition. Ain't Nori in a role he's played before as well. There's no guarantee he'll get in the team. I think he probably will do, given his quality. But if he's in that team playing regularly, it's because he's putting his full range of attributes into that team. At that point, you can presume he's been one of the leaders naturally anyway. So Vardiol, I think they would have laid out a roadmap for him and say, look, you sign this now, you make yourself one of the senior players, and then maybe this year, if not that year, the year after, at some point, he'll be Manchester City captain.
Yeah, I mean, he's potentially another one for the international scene as well. Modric, obviously, unlikely to go much longer with Croatia. Ivan Perisic is mid-30s as well. Kovacic is in his 30s. So maybe Joško Vardiol, the future of Manchester City, and the future of Croatia as well.
It's exciting, mate. I love it. I love seeing all these doors open for players, and I actually do believe it's important to show that this really is a new era, and it's a new era for every individual, not just for Manchester City. And that, to me, when you have a collection of players of the quality, of the desire, of the hunger that Manchester City usually do, that presents opportunities. And what I tend to find, and I remember over the years when we had a player like De Bruyne injured, well, Gundogan stepped up and scored goals, or when Fernandinho was out, Gundogan, for him mentioned again, played in midfield, or when we had Aguero was injured, all the false nines stepped in. Usually, the brilliant thing about a team as good as Manchester City, and a club as well run as the City, is if someone's not there, it's a chance of someone to take an opportunity, and they always do. We've seen it time and time again where someone stepped up, and this now is not one opportunity that's formed, there's multiple, there's so many uncertainties, but that, with the right mentality of players, it's just it's a recipe for success, I would argue, because they're all going to be absolutely desperate to make their own impact.
Sounded like there was a karaoke session going on in the background whilst you were talking there. One of the fans on the PA system singing Hey Jude. Anyway, one name, only one man can regularly wear the armband for Manchester City.
I actually think it should be Erling Haaland. I think he's your biggest player. He's your superstar. I think Erling Haaland would revel in that responsibility. I just think he is Manchester City as well. He's a fan. You know,
he's got a massive contract, so he's he's here for the next 9 years left.
Well, he's tied himself down to that. You know, that's a commitment to to the club, not just himself. That's a commitment to the club. And given that he's been an absolute superstar every year that he signed, he scores the most goals, he probably therefore wins the most points for us. He's one of the biggest names in world football, probably the most popular man in the sport right now after his antics at the World Cup with Norway. But I think, yeah, Ruben Diaz, brilliant, absolutely. But given his age, Erling Haaland, where he's at right now, he could be captain for the next 10 years, and I want to see him grow into that sort of fatherly figure for the rest of the team. He's only young still, but he's not a baby anymore, and I actually want to see what that experience and that responsibility could do for him.
We will see perhaps what Enzo Maresca chooses. Might get a hint tomorrow, of course. The likes of Haaland still to come back from international duty. Maybe we'll get more of a flavour of the captaincy come the Community Shield. It wasn't always decided by the first game of the season under Pep Guardiola. It used to echo on a little bit in his press conferences and finally get an answer in and around September time. Talking about the reset of the captain, talking about the reset of the squad. Enzo Maresca was talking about the reset earlier on in his press conference.
No, the only thing I said since we start to the players that for me it's a new reset. So all of them, they all start at the same level. And the pre-season will dictate a little bit also the window transfer. So this has been a general message for all of them, the ones that they played more minutes last year or the ones that they played less minutes. But at the end, the message has been the same for everyone. It's like, for me, it's a reset.
So that is Enzo Maresca talking about the reset of the squad. Pitchside Live as we get ready for Manchester City's final pre-season game, official pre-season game, depending on where you sit on the Community Shield, but final pre-season game over in the Far East, certainly. They take on Atletico Madrid, who so far this pre-season beat Getafe, lost to Manchester United. They might end up losing a double to Manchester clubs this summer. From previous games, we know that there can be a little bit of spice between these two. And it might just end pre-season nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sort of Simeone special, really, isn't it? It has to be spicy against them. And to be honest, this is the kind of game I want. I want to play clubs in pre-season with a little bit of history there and a little bit of spark, because I think there's a natural intensity between the two clubs. And I don't think you can ever play a Simeone side, an Atletico Madrid side, and not experience a bit of a battle. I understand the conditions and it's pre-season and so on, but Atletico have proven time and time again that they're one of the most difficult sides to play in world football, and it's for a reason. They are exceptionally well coached, they are exceptionally well drilled, they are relentless winners, and it'll be a perfect chance for City to test themselves.
This is Atletico Madrid training a little earlier today. We saw Lee Kang-in there, their new signing. Signed from Bayern Munich, the attacker. Of course, a big name in Korea. Enzo Maresca was asked about him a little earlier too.
He showed that he's a very good player. Fantastic. We are excited to play against tomorrow, not against Atletico Madrid in general, against him, against the new player. And again, I'm sure that he will be very good for Atletico Madrid.
So he will be the big name that certainly the Korean media and the Korean fans will want to see tomorrow in Seoul. Finally, as we wrap this up, Stephen, is there anything particularly from this final game of pre-season that you want to see from Manchester City that perhaps you haven't seen already so far in the Inter and K-Stars?
I guess it's more what I expect to see. I do expect to see something approaching 11 ahead of the Community Shield, because you have to lean into it. People talk an awful lot about the merits of the competitive nature of the Community Shield, but I think it's shifted over the years. I think Guardiola has ramped up the intensity, given his relentless desire to win everything. And we've seen some games in pre-season these days, the Community Shield, that are really aggressively fought because of the rivalry. Think of the Liverpool City penalty shootout when they were delighted to win it back in, I think it was 2020, we had the anniversary kit. And then you think of the history between the two clubs. It's Arsenal. There's going to be a real desire to get a strong start to the season in that game. So, bearing in mind that game, I think tomorrow we'll see Maresca probably, it won't be the lineup, but he'll approach something close to the lineup for that game. And if I was one of those young players or one of the new players or even one of the established players there, you want to play in that game. Absolutely you do. So they'll be putting their strongest foot forward. They'll be trying to make a mark because, as is the theme of this show, it's all about a reset and it's a chance for new beginnings, and they don't get bigger than this right now after the Guardiola era.
So we've learned that this is a reset for Manchester City. We've learned that everybody could be captain, and we have no idea who'll be part of the starting 11 either. That's what we've taken away from pre-season. Thank you for all your comments on YouTube as well. Manchester City against Atletico Madrid, 12 o'clock UK time. Tomorrow, midday start for that match day live. The team will be with you for that. A reminder, that's not only the pre-season getting underway for the men, the women start tonight as well. They are taking on Fiorentina, 7 o'clock kickoff. So we'll see you back on City Plus for that. But we will leave you with the closing pictures of training from Seoul as Manchester City prepare for their final pre-season game tomorrow against Atletico Madrid.
Chance to open up, gets the shot away! What a goal from Lauren Head! And Minay scored, Bonnie Shaun gets her goal!